What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
And guys, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We hope you are all having a wonderful end to 2021. Before we get into this video, Nick and I just wanted to thank you so much. The channel has grown tremendously over the course of this year, and we're going to keep trying and putting out new innovative things in 2022, and we hope all of you will join us for the ride as well. Given that there's not a lot of fights to talk about that are upcoming in the next week or so, Nick and I are going to be kind of doing a recap of 2021 through certain videos over this next week. Fighter of the year, fight of the year, prospect of the year, so on and so forth. So look for those videos dropping midweek, towards the end of the week, this coming week, and a little something for you guys before New Year's Eve. But anyways, Nick, let's get right into this this interesting fight that just got announced. We saw that Kevin Lee got signed to Eagle FC under Khabib's banner, which Khabib is making some pretty big waves with this promotion of his. And initially I thought, oh man, this might be bad. There may be some young, tough up-and-comers from Dagestan that Khabib wants to try to build the name off of Kevin Lee, and maybe Kevin Lee will get rich in the process, but he might get beaten up a few times. But then they announced his first opponent, and it's going to be Diego Sanchez, which kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that your original thought is out of question. I do think that Eagle FC is going to try to build people off of the biggest names that they can possibly sign. And as of right now, Kevin Lee and Diego are two of the biggest names that they can have. But to bring some attention to the promotion, it makes sense to put those guys in there together and you know, try to sign a few more just to build the name, build the brand a little bit before they start tearing these guys down and kind of tarnishing their record. So I think you're still going to see a lot of tough fights for both of these guys in the near future, but it does make sense for them to go ahead and square off with each other. You know, they both kind of, you know, fell on tough times towards the end of their UFC careers, and Kevin Lee was really way more unexpected than Diego Sanchez moving on over there. But I think that if these young up-and-comers that Khabib is signing can beat Kevin Lee, it shows just how talented his group of young fighters potentially you know, could be. And also it gives Kevin Lee a great chance to, like you said, make some money, but also maybe prove some people wrong.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is Kevin mentioned wanting to be paid in Bitcoin. I'm not sure if that's in the contract or not, but that would be a very interesting wrinkle if Eagle FC started to pay fighters in cryptocurrencies and not US dollars or whatever currency they get paid in. You know, this is funny to me because Kevin and Diego both did fall on tough times towards the end of their UFC career. However, I believe they're still both in very different parts of their career. I don't believe it's too late to turn it around for Kevin Lee. And I believe Diego Sanchez is absolutely on his swan song. He's got a couple of fights left. Hopefully he'll make a little bit of money and then he can ride off into the sunset and do something else. Kevin Lee, I feel like, is a really good fighter that for some reason just couldn't get it right. Almost like Cody Garbrandt in a sense. He's got all the attributes. He's young. He's talented. He's marketable. But for whatever reason, when the lights shine bright, he can't seem to hold it together. So maybe Eagle FC will be a nice reprieve for him. He can kind of get out of the spotlight. Maybe he proves some people wrong. I mean, I don't care how good of an up-and-coming prospect you are. Beating Kevin Lee is a tough, tall order. So I think maybe he has a chance here to not only make some money, but turn his career around and do some interesting things because he's still a very young man.
Yeah, and there's obviously different mountains that Kevin can climb in his career. He's not getting re-signed to the UFC.
Unlikely.
So that's the pinnacle. Him being in the UFC was the pinnacle of his MMA career as a fighter, at least. And I think that, you know, maybe Bellator will have some interest in him later on, but they have already announced that they weren't really interested in getting into the Kevin Lee business. So I do think that he's on the other end of the mountain, you know, as far as his career goes. And that's just unfortunate because I did see a lot of potential out of Kevin. I thought that he could be one of those guys that would be a problem at 155 and 170. This is interesting because he has always been probably the biggest advocate for a 165 division. Well, now he gets to actually show us what he would look like at 165, which he claimed would have been his best weight class, and he would have been the perfect body type for 165 in the UFC if they ever gave him that opportunity. You know, they always talk about the in-betweeners, and I think that the jump between, you know, 155 and 170 is maybe the most significant jump as far as weight classes go in the UFC.
Yeah.
You've got the 10-pound increments up until 155, and then you're kind of going with the really big guys, and there's big jumps, 15 pounds, 25, 20, even 60-some pounds. So I think that the jump between 55 and 70 is the most significant because there's so many people in that size range that they're either just too small for 170 or they're just too big for 155, and they kind of find themselves in no man's land. I would love to have seen a 165 division. I think it would add to the just more champions, more stars, more potential for double and triple champ status. But, Dana has his plan, his agenda, and he's going to continue to roll with it as long as he can. But I am actually excited to see how Diego performs at 165, but more importantly, how Kevin Lee performs at 165.
Yeah, and I think you're right. He probably won't be signed back to the UFC. I mean, if he goes into Eagle FC and he knocks out 3 Dagestani prospects back to back to back, and he's got some recognition behind his name again, he's starting to build some steam. Crazier things have happened, and certain people have been re-signed to the UFC who were not as big of names as Kevin Lee is. But I think the really only way that happens is if Dana does the unlikely, which we don't expect him to do, which is to make that 165 division.
Yeah.
Because if he did do that and you bump Kamaru up to the 175 champion and all of those guys move up to 175, then you do kind of have what you had with the women's 145 division is you have a division with no fighters in it. So you do have to sign some fighters to repopulate the division. So that would be the only way I see him. He would have to perform really well in Eagle under Khabib's banner, and then he would have to fit right into a UFC 165 division. Both are long shots, but I think Kevin's setting up for something else. I think he's trying to get into this boxing, this triad combat. Kevin Lee is still a very marketable guy, even though his win-loss record in the last couple of years has been pretty bad. He's still a guy that you can put on the top of a bill or as a co-main on a triad combat, on a Jake Paul card. Maybe he's not fighting Jake Paul, but he's fighting Logan or something like that.
Tyron Woodley.
Exactly. That's something that could generate some interest and some buzz and make Kevin some money. So I see his career going more that way. I mean, if we're talking about the fight with Diego Sanchez, which is in the immediate future, I think Kevin easily defeats him. I don't think this is even a difficult fight for him. Diego Sanchez is well past his expiration date. Kevin Lee's still young, still athletic, still has great wrestling. I don't think Diego will have an answer for it. I think he's going to get ground and pounded, and he's going to get finished in the 3rd round just because he's such a tough guy. But for all intents and purposes, it should be over in the 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 1st-round finish. It's going to get ugly. And Diego's, he's a fighter of old. He's a living legend. But the skills of those old fighters, they didn't quite – progress with some of these younger guys. And Kevin Lee's young, even though he's old in his career, he's still a young guy, very athletic, and he took to the modern day mixed martial arts skills and was developing them, moving from camp to camp later in his career to try to find the best fit for him. I think that he is a true skilled mixed martial artist on all aspects of the fight, and this is really just a way for Khabib, in my opinion, to hype up the talented Kevin Lee and get a really impressive finish before he starts putting him in there with some of his newer guys. And you said something about Cody No Love. Tyron Woodley, Kevin Lee, Cody No Love, they all kind of have similar records as towards the tail end of their UFC career. And if they're willing to get rid of a 5-time world champion in Tyron Woodley, who wasn't quite as marketable as Cody No Love, but certainly more successful, then I think that you could see Cody No Love potentially be scooped up by the Eagle FC organization as well. Now, I personally think that Bellator would probably want to get into the No Love business before Eagle FC. But if Khabib's trying to really grow it and really make a big dent into the game, I think that a signing like that could go well. And because Kevin and Tyron are both 1-5 in their last 6 in the UFC, and now Cody is in that same category, I think we could be looking at something like that. If a win over Cody No Love for one of these younger bantamweights or featherweights, if they're able to do that, then now you're talking about Eagle FC taking a pretty big star and then basically running with it with their up and coming prospects.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and I'm interested to see the product that is Eagle FC. I've never seen one of their promotions before. I've seen some highlights from some events that Khabib was involved in and things like that, but I've never seen a full Eagle FC start to finish promotion. But I certainly will be watching this fight on March 11th, and I think that Khabib is really doing some innovative things. And you see, Masvidal with his bare knuckle MMA promotion, and you see some other guys in the UFC or former fighters that are trying to start their own promotions now. Some names are I'm drawing a blank on names, but there's a couple of them out there. But I think Khabib is the one that's kind of leading the charge. He's kind of leading the way, and he's showing how in retirement you can not only still be relevant, but you can make a hell of a lot of money, maybe even more than you made in your UFC career, by leveraging that into either your own promotion or your own gym or what have you. Khabib, I think, is doing a really good job of that.
Yeah, I think Khabib's going to have his work cut out for him. I don't think anybody gets into promoting with the realistic factors that play into it. Dana White is one of the only people on the planet that can promote fights properly and make money doing it. Almost every single fight organization is either in the red or they're just breaking even. Nobody's really thriving except for a couple of big names, and it's the UFC is really the leading example. Khabib has a lot of work cut out for him. I think that it's going to be tough, but he does have the discipline, the knowledge, and the access to the right people like Dana White and the Fertitta guys and, all of those types of people to move forward and actually become a successful person in the promotional side of mixed martial arts, which has proven itself to be a very difficult, industry to navigate through. But with the Russians being totally behind Khabib, the Muslim community being totally behind him, and him having the skills and the people that he has access to, I think that's a recipe for success.
I do too, and I think he'll find his lane, right? Because Bellator is trying to compete head-on with the UFC and doing so quite unsuccessfully. Same with One Championship, same with Ryzen. And I enjoy watching all those promotions, and there's great fighters in all those promotions, and there's fighters that could be top guys in the UFC in all those promotions. But I think what Khabib's angle here is to build the names of some of these amazing young, skilled fighters, because you see a guy like Khamzat Chimaev come onto the scene. You see a guy like Islam Makhachev come onto the scene. Even Khabib back when he was fighting. You're like, man, this guy is so good. Where did he come from? But the truth of the matter is, for every Khamzat that you know, there's 5 that you don't know that just haven't had their chance yet, or they're dealing with injuries, or they're living in some remote corner of the world trying to get into a promotion that will allow them to build their superstar status. And I think Eagle FC is going to be kind of that segue. I don't think that Khabib is going to try to directly compete with Dana and try to be a bigger promotion than the UFC. That would be a mistake. I think what he's going to try to do is be a big enough promotion and have a nice enough partnership with Dana that he can start to help build some of these guys with a 2-0, 3-0, 5-0 record and usher them into the UFC and let them have these quick rises in the UFC like Khamzat has had. So I think if that's his angle, I think he'll be successful with it.
Yeah, I could see that being exactly what he's doing, just being a premier feeder league and maybe the biggest league in Russia. That, and obviously he's going to do a lot of stuff in the States, but become the premier feeder league to the UFC. And then Dana White, you give him good business, he'll return the favor, and he'll start sending you guys like Kevin Lee, like Diego Sanchez, and then the list goes on and on. There's a lot of people that will be getting their walking papers from the UFC, just as the years go on, and Khabib would be happy to probably pick all those people up.
That's for sure. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment and let us know, what do you think about this matchup between Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez? As always, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do so. It helps us tremendously. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.